Was there something like a major video or maybe a snippet that you saw and you were like, yeah, that's my moment to start?
The education system could be redundant, but the biggest thing you learn from a school or college is the fact that they teach you the impact of accountability. It's like a very hard thing to do to recreate it every time without it becoming redundant. So there is no particular way I plan my content because I'm still very new.
Everyone wants to become a content creator, but then the log kya kahenge virus kicks in. Relatives videos देख लेंगे तो aesthetics perfect नहीं है, camera quality का क्या, and the biggest fear, reach ही नहीं आएगी. Today, on the episode 5 of Upstarts If Sarasa podcast, we are joined by someone who scaled to 100k followers in 50 days. She's a management student at IIM Jammu, a total marketing powerhouse, and someone who scaled to 100k followers in what it feels like a heartbeat. Welcome to the show, Yana Chautani.
Hi guys, lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Hi Anna. So what brings you to Delhi today? And I mean, you are a student at IIM Jammu. What are you doing in Delhi?
So, I love Delhi. I have a lot of friends in Delhi. I have a conference to attend, and also I have some content planning to do with my agency, and just to meet friends, hang out, catch up.
Right. There. All right. So Yana, most of us know you through your Instagram, your 100k followers that you grew in what felt like a heartbeat, as Vani mentioned, right? So how did it all start? Where did you start content creation from? We know you through your 75 hard challenge that you had picked. So anything about that you want to share?
I started content when I was in a lot of pain because I failed this exam that I was preparing for since like the past 3-4 months diligently, and when I started preparing for that exam, I thought that I'm going to put all of my creative pursuits aside and just focus on that one thing because that's what it demands. But that process drained the entire life out of me, and then I also failed in the exam. So that was a very low moment in my life, and then I thought maybe I'm doing it all wrong. Maybe I should focus on my strengths. Maybe I should not let go of the creative pursuits that I feel like I shine in. And I thought this time I'm gonna do something seriously. I started content like the first time I experimented with content was 1.5 years ago. I did a YouTube channel, and I started it just for the sake of fun. Like I saw this YouTuber called Vedant Lamba.
Okay.
He has this business of sneakers. It's called Main Street, and he for the sake of discipline, he posted for 600 days consistently on YouTube, which is a big thing. And I was like, okay, what's something that puts me out of the comfort zone? So I thought, okay, I'm also going to do YouTube every day, and not for the sake of making commercial content, just for the sake of putting myself out of the comfort zone. But it worked out pretty well. I felt like I belonged in front of the camera. A lot of people started complimenting it, especially like the inner circle. And when I stopped it, people would come to me and they would be like, oh, you should do it again. Like, when is the YouTube video coming again? We really enjoyed watching whatever you were doing. So I thought this time I'm going to experiment with a newer platform, which was Instagram, because it's a little less hectic to be on Instagram. It doesn't require a lot of editing and a lot of time. You could quickly make a video. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna experiment with Instagram, and this time I'm gonna do this seriously, as if like this is a real job. And yeah, that's how it started.
I think that sounds really amazing. And I think now, today's generation, at least the Gen Z, all of us, we want to start content creation. So, like, was there any particular reel or any particular YouTube video that you saw and you were like, that's the Eureka reel, that's my Eureka moment, and now I should start? Was there something like a major video or maybe a snippet that you saw and you were like, yeah, that's my moment to start?
So Vedant Lamba was, I think, the first. And then Tanisho is, everybody knows Tanisho. She did a 75-hour challenge, and I saw one of her reels. I was like, let me do it also. So I think that was the moment when I was like, and I really like her content in terms of, she's like a true person who reflects her own personality through her content. And I love the fact that people are comfortable sharing who they are,
Right.
actually. Like, And also she posts in a way like however she's looking. If she's dark circles, if she's you know, a little chub, when she's losing weight and she's looking all gorgeous, all of it is all online documented. So I wanted to do that for myself.
Right. So you mentioned about the 75 hard challenge. Do you think that kind of external motivation really helps? Does that put a tabs in you to keep your performance tracked? Was that a motivation or the purpose that you started it for?
110%. So here's how I look at schools and colleges. I feel like the education system could be redundant, but the biggest thing you learn from a school or college is the fact that they teach you the impact of accountability.
Correct.
They create an external system where you have a class every day. Nobody would like complete 10 books in a year until you have to do it for
Exams.
the sake of school because you're being tested on it.
Right.
So I experimented with that concept of external accountability through social media, and I've done it before also. Like I on my private channel, I would like say that I'm gonna do a streak for going to gym every day, and I did. And even on the days where I like was super drained out, I didn't have energy, I had 12 hours of like class scheduled blocked, I was sick, I would still go because I had to put that one streak. So I thought, okay, let me do it for the sake of like posting every day this time.
Got it. And now I would want to understand, how do you decide what you want to post? I mean, is there a particular niche that you have decided on, or do you sit and decide on, okay, this is the content or the theme that I want to post about, or is it completely random?
That's a broad question. Anybody who's into content would understand this. That it's hard to crack an IP. It's called an intellectual property, an IP. Where like, for example, my I am boyfriend thing worked. So that's an IP, right?
Right.
But it's like a very hard thing to do to recreate it every time without it becoming redundant. So there is no particular way I plan my content because I'm still very new.
Right.
Like I'm still like only 2 months into this, and by the grace of God, I've been fortunate enough to have the scale that I have right now. But it also comes with a lot of responsibility and pressure of like understanding and cracking the system. But honestly, to the core of it, what I believe is that attention is something which is grabbed by telling good stories. Because if you want to catch attention of people online, you should have that quality of doing it offline also. Like, can you sit in a group of 15 people and tell them a story where they all remember it from the start to the end? If they can, you're a good storyteller, and there are ways to learn it. So I don't plan my content in terms of what exactly it's going to be. I've started to put more mind into it, but I do focus a lot on scripting and this thing called niche that is very prevalent with social media is also like the biggest cage at times, because you realize that something's working for you and you were excited or interested about it at that point in your life, but as a person you evolve, and I'm very quick and change. I want like change every month. So it's harder to like stick on to one thing, and that's also marketing for me. I love marketing, and what I create comes out the way it does because I'm genuinely into marketing. But I'm so much more than just marketing. And I don't want to be caged from a perspective of, oh, this girl just teaches marketing online, right? Because I have so much more to offer. And the scripts I make are not just backed by marketing. There are a lot of storytelling, there are a lot of strategy, there are a lot of like viewing it as a art of making videos. It involves acting, voice modulation, learning different ways to again tell a story. And therefore that's what people don't catch on.
Right.
So they feel like, oh, marketing as a niche is working. There are multiple other channels who are trying to do marketing. It doesn't work out because there's a dynamic of like back-end thinking that goes into it. So I'm trying to keep that back-end structure alive, but also like show much more of myself on social media in different aspects also. And if it means that the reach won't be as much, it's fine. Like, I'm trying to build my core cult following who believes in the visions that I have.
Right.
So yeah, that's where I'm going.
I think I really love the point where you talked about being adaptive to the changes, and I think that's really important. And apart from that, I think at least for the Gen Z, like having that hook that takes their attention, which is like goldfish attention nowadays. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
But I think all of us, we have that vision that now you are an Instagram influencer. But I think you also started from zero, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So like, what was Yana back then when she just started from zero? Like, what's the story? Like, story of burnouts or maybe some failed rounds. So like, how was Yana before the Instagram journey even started?
As I said, I was in shambles. I had to begin at the exam. I remember like going to my mom. So I was giving mocks and I was scoring well in mocks.
Okay.
But I have this huge panic problem with exams. Like, I just mess up on the D-Day because I just get this extreme anxiety. And then I like came back and I was crying and my mom was sitting and my mom's like really practical. So I was like telling her, I was like, exam, I have anxiety and shit, just, like, this didn't work out. And she was like, what didn't work out? Like, did you like try to dissect it? And I was like, oh, it's not the problem of like skill. I was scoring well in mocks. It's just I got anxiety. And she was like, तो फिर दिमाग की डॉक्टर को दिखा go to a counselor. And I was like, that's
Intelligent parents.
very blunt. But then I actually, like, after 2 seconds, I was like, that's a great advice. Because in that moment, even though it was funny, she taught me that it's not that serious. Like, it's fine. You are making a big thing out of it, but it's just like, try to have a problem solving mindset towards it.
Right.
That, oh, if you have anxiety, maybe you should go to a counselor and not overthink in the direction that how do I study better, because studying better was never the issue.
Right.
So I decided that because I'm going with this problem solving approach now, I'm going to solve the problems of my life and I'm going to see what my goal is. My goal is becoming successful and then also being fulfilled in what I do.
Right.
So I don't need to follow a route which other people are giving to me. I need to follow my gut, follow my intuition, and go back to the creative. I'm inherently a very creative person. I've loved writing since I was a kid. I had to drop it. I used to write poems also, and I had to drop it because this all study and the rat face things around it. Both of my parents are professors. I have a very like strict household in terms of like academics. So I started I started thinking about finding myself again through creative things, and then content was something that I've been passionately talking about since the past 2 years. Like, anybody who knows me that I would like call them and talk about either a startup idea or starting content. It looks like an overnight success maybe right now, but my entire mind was on marketing and content and startup and brand, which is what I'm trying to progress in, because this is what Yana is. Like, she wants to like own a business soon. She wants to see more women leaders coming out. She wants to see more women in business appearing, and I want to take this chance to step up and like be a leading light for them if nobody else is doing it. Like, I want to be the spokesperson who leads with her own voice as a woman. And then because my mom is one of the most like strongest person I know, and she has a very badass vibe to her, and I've seen her do things which like most women wouldn't because they're scared. And I want to take that fearlessness quality from her and distribute it to the world, especially in the field of business and growth and money. So this is how like all of this was in my head. Like, it was really loud in my head, and I was like, now I'm going to start content. I'm going to take it very seriously, and I'm not going to give up, even if it's slow. Like, in my mind, it was never that, oh, it'll get wild. In my mind, it was like, whatever the hell happens, I have to post every single day, and not mindlessly. Every single day, I have to improve. If I'm doing it as a job, I would have the pressure of like performing well, otherwise I'll be kicked out. So this is my own company where I have recruited myself. I have to perform good every day, otherwise I'll be kicked out. Yes.
Right.
I think I really like the way you talked about consistency in a way, and I think you explained that better. And I think content creation is obviously like a job, and you have to treat it like a way that you have to give your 100%. So, like, as you mentioned, that your parents are professors, so I think I understand that must be a very strict environment to be brought up in. So, like, I think most of us, I think even Chehik and I were discussing that we want to start content creation, but we have that point कि camera setting का नहीं पता, and maybe अगर relatives ने reel देख ली तो क्या बोलेंगे. So, do you have any, like, that sort of fear that you had when you were starting कि like अगर बुआ ने देख लिया, ताई ने देख लिया, what would happen? So, like, did you ever have कि रिश्तेदारों ने देख लिया, what would
I
you
to
feel?
love the hate. When I went into college, I was really hated. Uh,
Because of women hated.
I'm telling you, no, because of pre-assumption. So when I entered college, I used to go to the gym very regularly before it. I used to eat well. So I used to look a certain way. I also had a little bit of like a private Instagram presence, which was like aesthetic, metro girl, even though I'm not from a metro. But so people who are coming to college, I understand they were presumptuous and they thought, because of also like a load of other things, they were like, oh, she's pick me. She's such a, I don't know if I can say the word, the B word, but she's like very pompous. And they used to hate me for it. I think a series of events, misunderstandings led to it. But I've had people come to me and say, like, we're so wrong. Like you're super nice when we talk to you. But this is like the literal assumption, the entire batch about me. And I've gone through a lot of like public like not humiliation, but a lot of like back again bitching and a lot of like I was pretty hated. I got a hate letter also on Christmas one time, like, oh, girl, yeah, and I was having a really bad time, and then she wrote it to me and I was like, what have I done? No.
Who is this person?
Is this in college? Yeah.
OMG, she apologized later, but it's fine. So it was like a really big thing that I hate is much more harder to handle when it's in person.
Correct.
Because this college was a space where nobody knew me. So yeah, like all of these experiences in college of facing hate real time made me realize that your perception of yourself needs to be strong.
Right.
Eventually people catch up to it, because when you go into a new environment where nobody knows you, there could be a lot of pre-assumptions, which is more about other people's insecurity or their perspective or reflection of their own life, which you don't need to be bound by.
Correct.
So you just live in your own world, and eventually when you do it consistently, people start believing your version and they change their mind about it. And I mean, about social media hate, all PR is good PR. As it's a game of attention. See, if at core you're a person who's doing something right, it will eventually catch up with everybody. So if you slip out on one thing and people take it in a wrong way, that's okay. It's your profession comes with that big red warning that it will happen, and that's a part of you becoming better and successful at content or anything that is available to the public to critique. So that's fine with me. And then another segment of it being relatives, that has also happened with me. Like where I used to post pictures on my private account and then they would make fake accounts and somehow find out my account and then would go like tell my mom or something. And my mom is on my account. She knows what I'm wearing. She just doesn't want other people to see it because it becomes problematic. Everybody like shorter clothes or like this hair or whatever. So that has once happened with me in the worst way possible. And my mom was just like trying to be low-key and away from it.
Right.
So अब वो हो गया है तो it's not that big of a issue. ठीक है.
Right. So you just talked about that you have been receiving such hate because of no decent reason since your school and college. So how's
Just college because they didn't know me.
Okay, right, correct. So how does it differ from social media's hate comments that you receive, and has your response to them changed, or have you learned a better way to respond to them now? The quantum of hate comments that you now would have been receiving, considering your scale on social media is increased?
Honestly, I don't get a lot of hate on social media because my content is not like that. Like as a woman, if you make reels where you're trying to, have fashion as your niche, or you're trying to speak about women empowerment, or like talk about men, or you're trying to do anything which involves like makeup or entertainment, then you become like a target of public critique a lot more. I am more like a infotainment educational creator, so people don't really target me that much. But what I get targeted on is the fact that, oh, why did you post your picture? We followed you for marketing. And I'm like you are not in my shoes. You can't tell me what to do. You don't know how to sustain a page. So your opinion is great. You can have your own opinion. I am never disrespectful of you having your own opinion. But it's also in my head very clear that your perspective could be very narrow-minded and limited at the same time. That's why you go out of your comfort zone and you gain the patience to listen to other people.
Right.
That's a habit you have. Not a lot of people, not a lot of like other people do. So you don't expect it from them. It's fine. Let them live their life and you live yours.
Perfect. Really good advice, not just for people who are creating content, but in real life as well.
Yeah.
Right. So let's now move on to the kind of content you create. So one thing that's very specific to the kind of reels that you create is the hook. So we want to understand that hook formula.
Great secret. I never answer this question. Yeah. See, there is no magic trick to creating a good hook. It's just me catching up to how Indian headlines do it. Everybody reads the newspaper, everybody reads entertainment news. That's how they make it. So for me, whatever, as I also previously talked, that if you have the power to catch attention of real people, a real group of 15 people sitting in a room, you're doing the right thing. You're doing storytelling right. You can crack content. Hooks are the same thing. And I think a major part of me has learned the art of not being scared to be exaggerating or pompous in the type of hooks I make is because of Delhi. Because I've seen like these Delhi people, especially like these, kids who wouldn't do anything in their life, but just because of their background, they have so much confidence that they know how to frame their life,
Right.
and it looks like 100 times better than yours.
Correct.
Right. So, and that's a great skill of all the people, like all the children and younger generations of like businessmen you would see. They've instilled it in their kids that how do you pitch yourself the moment you're talking to somebody. They start like it's like a sales pitch. They're selling themselves. So
correct.
when you're trying to do that, you have to tell the other person like who are you and what brings credibility to you. Otherwise, nobody cares to speak to you. So the hook comes from understanding that you need to exaggerate sometimes. You need to know how to twist the words. Third, you need to focus on what naturally catches attention in a real life scenario.
Right.
That would also catch attention online. And fourth, just understand the fundamentals of like addressable market. So like what's the total addressable market, what's your addressable market, and then how do you reach out to more audience is by not niching down to whatever content you're making. लोग कुछ भी देख लेते हैं end में, पर शुरू का content सबको relevant नहीं होता है. तो hook is the part which is able to speak to more people. So you need to keep in mind कि I am trying to reach a wider audience. So I need to say something which is relevant and relatable for a wider audience, and that's why they work well.
Right.
I think I really love the way you broke down how you create a book, and it's more like a case study, like Tam Sam Som, and I really love the way you're just putting in words. And like just a follow-up question on that. So like as you're seeing this year, 2026, obviously there's some amazing content, and I think as an influencer, you know like what content works and what does not work. So I'll be just dividing this question into two parts. So I wanted to answer in a very, whatever way, in the original way. And this first part of the question is, what content do you think like will be gaining a lot of followers? Not exactly, but I think what content do you think is like really active? And the second part is, what content do you feel is like dead, or like maybe it won't work out? Like just based on what you have seen in the market.
So like Instagram is becoming the new Netflix. And Netflix is becoming the new Instagram. If you've seen, they started this feature in mobiles, I think, when you could scroll. So what's happening is people now know the game of content a little bit because we do such podcasts and we break everything down. So now people know the trade secrets, right? Abhi, with content, the thing is, it's a very volatile job because you're not playing on anything which has a syllabus.
Makes sense.
It is what catches attention, and people's theme of attention and trend changes every minute at times.
Indeed.
So you can't ever forecast what is going to work, what is not going to work, but you can stick to the fundamental that the more you apply, as I said, observe in real life what catches attention, what people are talking about, what is something that naturally gets your friends on a phone call and talk about that random person who's sitting like 7 oceans away from you. That is content material, right? Utilize it and then try to combine that with something that you have value to provide for and nobody else could, and make both the worlds meet, and then you have a piece that should work.
Right.
And all of it is a lot more about experimentation also. You can't, even as a content creator, you can't always say that I've cracked it, because you have to keep re-evolving yourself. And as a person, when you're putting your life also out as a, like, as a public brand, or as a a personal brand outside, you also have mood swings, like you're human. Sometimes it is working but you don't like to put it because it's not fun for you anymore. So it's a game of consistency, and it's a game of like taking the highs and lows equally well.
Right. Got it. So I think what I could sum up what you just said about what will work in this particular sort of marketing bubble is relatability.
Right. Yes.
Relatability with the kind of audience you're trying to deal with, right? So that was the part that will work. What do you think is the form of or format of content you think would not really work now or in next few years?
So anything that is an ad, like which is structured like an ad. That's what I meant by like Instagram is becoming the new Netflix. So I think like these series type of content is really blowing up. I forgot to add it. So people are making like these little stories and skits and their own short films online,
Right.
and that is working very well. Mokai is doing great. So a lot of other channels are utilizing it. What is not working is a very highly edited content is not very much working anymore. It could come up and trend again. There's no sort of restriction on it. But recently it's not working that well because people have started realizing, as I said, the commercial aspect of it. So they want to see a raw, real person talking about their life, and people gauge the authenticity. Like the moment you start becoming performative, they grasp it.
Correct.
So as long as you know the fundamentals of what catches attention and being a good storyteller, you can always crack it, no matter what the format is changing.
Right. Got it, Yana. Now, trying to understand how do you see this as a long-term marketing career for yourself? Do you see yourself surviving this as a full-time career? Because marketing seems fun, it looks fun on the outside, but when it comes to the paycheck, marketing seems like an underdog in front of other domains like finance or strategy. So, what do you think about that?
Oh, I love that you asked that question. See, there are always like two voices in your head. One would look at the life that you imagine as a success, which is sometimes influenced by the definition of other people telling you what success looks like. I've learned this early on with school itself, that the people who are teaching you also have a very limited mindset. So what success means for them is the best they have seen or they have connected to, and half of the times they've not even gone out of their towns. So their definition of success is very narrow-minded, and somehow they're in an authority to pass it over to you and create a system where you feel like whatever they're saying, because it's backed by 50 people in the class, that's the real definition of success. So for me, I never feel, and then the other voice is where you're just like frustrated and you're like, this is what I want to do, and like people are gonna oppose me, but I'm gonna be a rebel. But after a while, you're like, no, I won't. Disown kar denge. So yeah. So how you take it is balance both the voices. You always critique and rethink about whatever advice you're taking from someone. Is that person eligible to give you advice, in terms of would you want to be in that person's shoes 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line? If not, then their perspective might be correct from the type of life they want to build. You don't want to build a life like that, so you only listen to somebody who's at a place where you want to be. And B, you check the feasibility of it, in terms of, does your skill set actually allow you? Like today I decide I want to be a singer, I want to be Taylor Swift. I can't sing. So now, I'm like, I won't take advice from my mom because she's not a singer. I want to be a singer. If she discourages me, I'm not. You can't do that, right? So there's sort of some sort of feasibility in it, which comes from just research and talking to people who are doing it, and that's it. Just like plan it out, reverse engineer it, like, actually write it down. Break your thoughts, meditate. In fact, like, calm your mind in a way where you can talk to yourself, you can have a conversation, where you feel comfortable.
So meditate. Have you started?
I've been meditating since I was 14.
Oh,
I love meditating. It's been like, it goes on and off with the amount and consistency of it, but I always come back to it. And here's how I like describe a good form of meditation: is when you're just like having a conversation with God, because He's the best listener. A, and B, you feel comfortable talking about whatever's going on in your head. So that's my form of meditation also, where I sit down and I'm like, okay, I'm being blessed by that entity who has this spiritual power. And then He's gonna sit and listen. Like, He's not gonna be in a hurry that my life's going on, I can't listen to you. He's gonna listen. So I just talk. Which brings a lot of clarity. Journaling brings a lot of clarity to some people. If you have a friend or like a parent who you're so open to and you can talk about anything, that helps. It's just have an outlet where you feel comfortable talking about it. Could be anything.
right.
I think the way you talked about, having a perspective, because maybe someone is speaking about the career in a very flashy way because they saw it that way, but having your own lens, having your own perspective is very important. And I think secondly, you talked about, like, in a way you talked about networking, so it's very important that if you are exploring some other domain, you talk to the people, you understand, like, it's not just something that you see and you just jump into it based on what other people say. So I think that's something that we really got as a good advice. And apart from that, meditation. I think we'll also start meditating, and I think maybe we can just try and
Everybody should.
Even our audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we just try hands on, and I think there are lots of productivity hacks that Yana gave, and I think maybe we can try that. So moving on to like an interesting question. So like from your reels, we saw that you are starting something of your own. So I think your audience and as well as us are curious, like what's the idea, and if it's just something that you want to build into, like something about that.
So, as I said, if somebody who like personally knows me for the past 2-3 years, I have been eating people's ears about like having a startup, doing content. I've started content, now it's the second thing. And I actually did start a company sort of thing, like a community sort of things for young entrepreneurs. It failed, it didn't work out. And then uske pehle bhi I was like trying to experiment with like clothing brands and stuff. Didn't work out. I think this is now the right time for me to again have that external accountability, because I have an audience who's looking, and at the same time it's a very natural progression for the type of content that I'm making. I don't want to give any sort of marketing advice which is just theoretical or made up. It becomes gimmicky after a point.
Right.
I want to actually break down how real marketing works in the real world, like how people are doing it out there and how to make it profitable again. Because I feel like, as connecting it to the past question, that finance and consulting are like more celebrated and maybe more monetarily rewarding professions. You can always make the biggest buck in something that you are passionate about, because you could crack an opportunity which nobody else could, because they're doing it as a job. So in life, the more I try to like mess around with a domain and not stick to it entirely as a job, but also try to innovate in it, I think I'm doing a better job. So with marketing also, I'm trying to do the same thing. Therefore, this time, this brand is not something that I'm thinking like long term or generational. It's just something I want to build with my audience, build in public, so that when I'm talking about building a brand, I'm actually able to apply it also, and I'm able to verify that whatever I'm learning in my classroom, because it is sort of like a USP thing that, oh, I'm sharing whatever I learn in an IIM and then like give it to people, right? Is it even relevant? I want to be the person who's like actually experimenting and telling people that, oh, this works and this doesn't. So this is going to be like a temporary brand thing. Maybe it works out, we go about it, I don't know, but this is just going to be like also a showcase to people that what it only takes for you to start is to just start. Like you just need to start, pin down on an idea, and then just like start. And if it fails, it's fine.
Right. If it fails, it's fine. That
genuinely hits.
that hits. And that also brings me to the point. We were having this podcast with Akshat last time, and he mentioned this point that you can never outcompete the guy who's just having fun.
Yeah.
So he made that point. I think I can relate it with what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
That pinch of passion that you put into your work that makes it not just a job but a passion is something that keeps you going for a longer period.
It was 10%, yeah. And that's what I was talking about when I said anything authentic works on social media. It's because whatever is authentic comes with a lot of bad spots. So people find your story more. I was watching this reel where she was talking about how a lot of people do MMA and fighting, but Jackie Chan was the person who became super, super famous.
Right.
Because he used to, do ouch when you would hit him. So people connected with the pain, that it's actually painful, but he still does it. So you can't ever like not be authentic when you're just like living your life the way you want to, and you're doing what you're passionate about.
Right, correct, Kiana. Right. So now that we have talked about your content and how you create that content and what goes behind creating that content, we move on to the next part, which is the
Understanding.
the main part of the job, the real game.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, you start with what you want to share about the barter deals that you make or the partnerships.
Well, I like barter deals.
We don't do. Okay.
Is it too pompous to say?
I make sure of it.
Right. So yeah, you do talk about that and we'll follow up. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I would in his hand, like,
ऐसा नहीं है कि हम नहीं करते, ये बहुत ऐसे कॉकी फील हो रहा है, बट ऐसा
पहले तो मस्ती में बोला.
ऐसा नहीं है.
I mean, of course, you would
We
not
just
spend
don't
all that.
underrate ourselves.
See, करेंगे और barter if the brand and requirement is very good.
Okay.
Yeah, that works for us too.
So, I won't talk about it in monetary terms. I would talk about in earning terms. So, earning is not just like cash. It is also building an influence. It is also getting a cult following where people genuinely are interested in your life. So whenever we look at deals, we look at it from a very holistic perspective. There are times when brands have tried to throw like a very good amount of money on our face, and we've said straight up no, because I won't ever impart anything that I don't feel like is correct to be imparted. I would question it right then and there. And there have been times when I've even told the brand that I'm not doing it. I don't think you should do it at all also. Like, discard this idea of yours. It's wrong. So, it's in terms of earnings, content has a lot to offer. Not just money, but also it puts you in a public sphere. It's going to be connected to you lovely girls that have this conversation here. So, look at it in a way of, and also it's very fluctuating again. 1 month is very different from another month. It's never stable. There's good money in this, I'm not going to deny. There's also good networking into this, but it's also very, very subjective to what's your niche, what type of like target audience do you have, and that also decides the type of partnerships that come your way. So there is no one particular answer for anybody, because everybody would be authentic in a different set.
Yes.
And they should focus on earning more rather than just like the cash perspective of it.
Correct, Marika. Different. The new definition of earning that you have given is pretty interesting. And okay, can you share any weird barter deal or any kind of
partnership
brand
deal.
deal that you might have received, the weirdest, the funniest, anything that you could recall?
I had one which was related to this website they were building for like my college's tags related. There was this one website, and they were asking me to endorse that this platform basically like creates the most amount of crore-patis in the market. I'm like, are you mad?
That was a big blunt answer.
You're gonna be like, you're gonna tell me that I'm gonna endorse that the placement committees, which put so much effort into getting placements into the colleges whose whole USP is getting placements, you're better than them. So I like told him, and he's like, no, this is verifiable information. I was like, you could verify wrong things also. You could say it's a 1 crore package and be like 90 lakhs in ESOPs and 10 lakhs in hand. That is also a way you could do it. He was like, no, you should actually look at the side and this is that. And I was like, it's just bizarre. Like, even they wanted to use it. Like, people would call it out in the second.
Exactly, right.
That was one, and that was one kind. There are people who come in your DMs and they're like, oh, we have seen your reels and this is going great. I think this could be better, but we have this opportunity for you, and
Wow.
we want to pay you 1 to 3K for minimum 500K or million views. Minimum. Otherwise, you can't.
Wow, so
That's the most weirdest bit ever.
One time I like saw it and left it on scene, and then they also followed up. They were like, kindly please reply at your earliest so that we could start working. And I'm like, oh, I
With the confidence that you could start
Yeah.
this game, petty
But I
what
think
she
you
said.
deserve like a larger content creator for this. I'm not like
Out of it. I mean, I really love the second part of the answer. That even before you said yes, we just wanted to reply early so that you can just start the content creation.
you told her that you want to have a clothing brand, so like there are so many clothing brands, so what will you have new in yours? So I want to
So that was a conversation with. She didn't say it entirely in this way. She's super sweet. I just made it chatpura for the sake of story. But she was just trying to. I asked her a question. I was like, these brands who are doing great are also not very far in terms of the product from these newer brands, or creating great quality products in terms of like creativity also, but it doesn't blow up. So what's the difference between that bigger brand and this smaller brand? And I particularly mentioned streetwear because you've seen brands like Supreme literally bursting out, but then there are smaller brands in every other gully who's trying to do it, but they can't. So what defines a cult following? And she told me that generally it's also having a community firsthand, like, which is a concept that I derived from that conversation, is that you don't build a community. A lot of people are like, we're building culture, we're building community. You don't build culture. Culture is built through years of practice and relevance and proximity. Now before, when we did have like social media, it was very hard to globalize and part different perspectives and values. Therefore, people who lived together had the same practices, values, believed in the same things, and again, from the family system, that would have been reinforced. So every community would have their own traditions and practices, right? So now that is culture. You can't create it with like at least like in a month or two, or even in like just 2-3 years with your brand, because you're saying something like revolutionary. So what you do is you actually pick up on these subgroups who don't have a label. Like, for example, I talked about, or I don't know if that made the cut, but I was talking about this girl who would like sneak out of her house at like 2 a.m. and would teach dancing to the people of a crowd. Or like there is this underground hip hop things, rap thing that have came up, right? Gully Boy is like a branding on that already existing segment. It didn't create it. It already existed. You just identified it at the right time
And put it out in the
and
market.
put it out to the market, understood it right, and then branded it.
Right.
So,
Makes so much
that's a better way to do it. A and B. The story of there are stories that sells. So my professor told me how a story of an underdog always sells. Right. So she told me that if you look at Steve Jobs, she's told like he's not actually an underdog, right? Because they would say, he's a dropout from Harvard, he would sleep on
From
floors,
Harvard.
do all of these things. But he's a dropout from Harvard. So, and it's not even about him getting into Harvard, it's also more about him being able to afford it.
Exactly.
He's not a cheap, poor guy. He had the money to go to Harvard. Not everybody does.
That's a very new perspective.
Yes. So the way you structure your story and make it relatable to other people really speaks volumes. So these newer brands which know nothing about a story and that they think, this is a cool story, let me just form a culture with it. You can't form a culture.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Yara, we've talked enough about the Instagram presence. I had this one personal question that I really wanted to ask you about your LinkedIn presence. What do you think about that? Because, okay, for context, LinkedIn has been the staple for DU students.
At least, yeah.
At least for DU.
At least for DU, yes.
It's been a staple, legit. Being on LinkedIn has been like the need of the placements of the job market. But when I see you have built it through a completely different platform. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you plan to maybe expand it onto LinkedIn, or do you want to stay on Instagram, or do you have any different thoughts about that?
So I was in the industry interaction cell at my college. My entire work was to cold reach out to these people, to like big people like vice presidents, CHROs, CEOs, CXOs to come to my college and give speeches, right? Or like just talk to the students. So I am fed up of LinkedIn. I don't like opening that app. Half of the times it's deleted. And I'm not even bitter. Like there's a lot of things, missing information, missing work experience that I have, which is not on my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is very, very boring because I hate that app. Like I have done so much of this, but it has taught me a lot about like cold pitching. And LinkedIn is a great platform to grow because इतना high effort नहीं लगता है LinkedIn पे grow होने का. So if anybody is actually looking to grow on content and they're looking for a platform, I think LinkedIn is a great platform because आप थोड़ा सा भी कुछ अलग करते हो तो it catches attention because a lot of people are not doing it.
Right.
But in terms of it being the holy grail, I think your work speaks for yourself wherever you build it. Like which like I have seen people with very fancy LinkedIns, but they don't know how to write a cold message. So as long as you master the art of pitching yourself, it doesn't matter which platform you're using, it doesn't matter which channel you're going through. You should just be able to grab the attention of the other person, right? So I think that's all about it.
Great. Makes so much sense. I mean, it's not about the platform, but the way you are reaching out to people and the way you're grabbing onto the opportunity. If you no matter how much followers you have, but if you do not know how to pitch yourself or even write a cold email.
I know, and like there was this one time when I had a startup idea and I wanted to like put it out somewhere with people who are experienced. So I downloaded Hinge, and then I put the location as downtown Bay, Southern California, which is the Silicon Valley. And then I just started getting gestures with people, and then I would like tell them, this is my startup idea.
That's a crazy idea. Just
But yeah, the platform really doesn't matter, and you just need to realize that where is your audience lying and who's the correct person, how to reach them in the quickest way, like cutting the noise. I don't think Hinge was very, very beneficial, but I'm just saying that you could always like experiment with different things.
So Hinge brings me to another platform, which is Reddit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you use Reddit? And
No,
have
I'm
you
new in Reddit. Like, and my friends are like super somehow famous on Reddit, and they have these fan fictions being written on them, and like so many things happening. But I'm just like so out of touch. I'm like a grandma on Reddit. I don't have Reddit. I've never used it, and I'm happy to.
She's a Reddit fan.
I am not really. I just got into it. I found it fun. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Bhavesh is a lot.
Yeah, Bhavesh keeps telling me about this thing that is happening with him, and I want to sympathize, but I just don't understand the platform. Like,
It happens. Actually, that initially happens. You're not able to understand because you know what's the point of posting something when you do not recognize your audience. They don't know who is posting. So when you don't know the ingredients or part of the tea, then what's the point of doing that, right?
yeah, and Reddit is like very brain load for me. And I think there's already a lot of brain load available, so I would like to be away from this.
So now we'll move to the fun segment, that is the rapid fire. So we have a little rapid fire game. You'll have to answer it in 3 seconds, and if you don't, you have to.
Do I get a hamper?
Sure, we can decide, but we have one more thing. If you're not able to answer it in 3 seconds, you will call your best friend and say that you are quitting content creation.
Are you ready for that?
I'm ready for that. Then.
Let's see how they react.
Yes, let's go.
I would also see how they would react.
Okay, we'll anyways do it.
Huh, cool. Take it.
Regardless.
So we'll start. The cringest reel you have ever posted that you're embarrassed of, by any chance? 3 seconds.
I'm not embarrassed of anything.
Okay.
It's a past and past.
Amazing. Weirdest fan DM you have ever seen?
It was something about me biting my nails. I don't remember it, but it was funny.
Yeah, okay. Funniest hate comment that actually made you laugh?
Funniest hate comment.
Or it can be any comment.
It's too
that you-
shallow for an IIM student.
What does that even mean?
Exactly.
Did you think through it?
Okay. 2 brands in India that you think are absolutely slaying in their marketing.
Oh my god, Mokai.
Okay.
And I think IndieWire is doing great.
Amazing.
Like in their brand building, they're doing great.
Okay. Yana Chhotani in 3 words.
Creative, leader, innovative.
Amazing. Trade 100k followers for a 1 crore placement, yes or no?
I can make multi-crores out of my own thing. No, 100k.
Got it.
Okay, we'll move on to
Yeah,
the next.
next segment.
Yes. Never have I ever. Okay. So, never have I ever refreshed my Instagram insights more than my academic portal.
Every time. Every time.
Okay. Next. Never have I ever used the I am tag just because I knew the algorithm loves it.
Every time. Okay, not every time, but okay.
Yeah.
Quite good.
Exactly.
Never have I ever lied in a hook just to stop people from scrolling.
Partially, every hook that works has that element.
Okay. Very diplomatic of it to say, put it that way.
Yeah.
No, for anybody it works that way.
Okay. Nice.
Good answer there. Not diplomatic.
Okay, this one's interesting.
Huh.
Never have I ever Googled myself to check if I am trending.
I have Googled myself, but I don't think to know that I'm trending.
Okay.
This is interesting.
This is okay. Never have I ever blocked a relative so they won't see my content.
Oh yeah.
My mom has told me to do it.
And you did.
Yeah.
Okay. Never have I used my follower count to get a discount.
Have you?
No. Not yet. I would like to do it. Not yet.
Okay.
Amazing.
Okay, that was it, I guess. Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Then Yana, it was great interacting with you. Anything you have to put out to our audience
Yeah.
now that you're here with us?
I am just super grateful that you guys thought I should answer these questions. They were very well made. I hope you had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was amazing for us.
and-
Of course.
Like before the conversation we were having beyond the camera, I was saying that for starting anything new, I always appreciate and encourage anybody who's, putting themselves out and trying to connect with people and not like stopping thinking that, oh, they would anyway not respond. All it takes to become big is bigger balls and not knowing everything. Nobody has it all sorted out.
Right.
So just like get out there, reach out to people, and that's what I loved about you guys and everybody who is watching. In your career, I think this is the biggest advice, that you just need to have bigger balls and just do it. Like, learn along the way, fail as much as is possible, and fail faster so that you could win faster. So it's super amazing to be here. I hope I provided a little bit of value to everybody who's watching. And if anybody has like any sort of doubts about anything I said, my DMs are always open. My page.
It's already out there. Very much out there. Right, so that's a wrap for our audience. And I hope this episode gave you some kind of push to stop overthinking and start that one and shoot that one reel of yours. And even Yana started from 0 followers and now she has grown to more than 100k followers. So that should be a motivation for you. And yeah, it was great to have you, Yana. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, hope to meet you soon.
You too. You. Thank you for everybody who wants to spend the time watching it. And
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.